Look who showed up to work.
I will say that the amount of like shit that we have to like make this one camera podcast work is just growing exponentially.
Hey, it's the growing pains, bro. Episode 5, man. Are you ready?
Yeah, man.
Don't leave me hanging.
What do you want to chat about?
Well, how you been, man?
I've been good. I've been getting more work done now that winter break is over.
Nice.
Winter break was rough, dude, because both kids were home, and I stupidly thought that like, oh, I'll be able to like get a little bit of work done. No, nothing.
Wait, how many kids do you have?
2.
Yeah, 2. 2 boys, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oof.
They're so close to being able to like just entertain each other.
Cook for themselves.
Well, like, so last night they're running around playing, right? And I was like, this is great. And like 20 minutes they're playing with each other. And, you know, but every 3 minutes someone's crying. So I have to get, are you okay? Don't do that. Stop punching him in the face, like that kind of stuff. So,
wait, anyway. I didn't even ask you, how was your Christmas? And also, Happy New Year, bro.
Oh, you too, man.
Thanks.
2025.
Yeah.
So this is only my 3rd time celebrating Christmas.
Oh.
So we're Jews.
You're Jewish. Okay,
yeah.
okay.
So we did Hanukkah forever. And we've always done Hanukkah. And then, so we have an au pair from South Africa.
Mm.
We've had a different au pair every year. And the first year we had one.
Wait, can you get an au pair if you don't have kids?
Yeah, I guess.
Can't you just take care of your everyday lifestyle?
That'd be kind of creepy. That's like that's like a house manager. I don't think you need to import one for that kind of thing. But our first au pair, Tiff, she really loved like Christmas time and all those things. So we're like, oh, you know, we want to make her feel at home. You know, we'll do the whole 9 yards because Magda's mom is Jewish, which technically means she's 100% Jewish, but her dad's Christian.
But you're not Jewish.
Me?
Yeah.
I'm super Jew.
You're super Jew. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, long story short, we did Christmas 30 years ago. The kids liked it. It was cute. So we've just sort of been doing it in a non-denominational religious way at all. You know, we have a tree. Magda likes decorating the house.
I used to love Christmas as a kid, man. Like it literally was my favorite holiday. Like my parents would really go all out. My dad would dress up as Santa.
Oh, wow.
And I don't know, I'm glad you're doing that because, I mean, yeah, you want your kids to grow up with the Jewish religion and like traditions, but
honestly, for me, like, you know,
Christmas is still fun.
Yeah, I want them to be able to experience that, but for, you know, we're not really religious in any sense. So all of the Jewish stuff is mostly traditions and stuff. Tradition. Anyway, though.
Yeah, bro. So I have a few things I want to talk about today.
Hit me.
You ready?
I'm ready. Hold on. I just realized we don't have any more of these in the studio fridge.
I'll bring some next time.
I have some downstairs. I just have to walk all the way downstairs to get them.
Oh, okay. So, I guess before we kind of talk about some topics today, what are some new things in the world of photography that maybe stood out to you in the last couple of days? I'm curious.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I can think of 2 off the top of my head. One is a piece of gear I just bought that you just messed with.
Oh, wait till we talk about that.
Yeah. The Sony just can't. So Magda and I switched over to Sony this past season.
Wait, can I get some credit for that? Or not really?
I'll give you credit for that.
There we go. Sony, you know what to do.
Canon, go fuck yourself. I mean, there was nothing wrong with the Canon cameras. There were just a couple things that eventually prompted us to switch. But the one thing that I loved about the Canon system was they had this 28-70 f2 lens, which is like,
that thing is
shooting it.
It's a beauty.
When I use primes, which I mostly only use primes, I'm shooting it. F2 is like my number, even if the lens can open up.
Same, bro. I think I'll go lower than 2, but that's just for like something super creative.
Yeah. So like, I'll definitely jump it, like pop, like I have the 51 too, and I'll open that thing all the way up. But for very specific circumstances, if I'm just like shooting around, it's f2. I know.
Before we talk about that, it's crazy to me how I've seen photographers that will shoot 51.2 all day.
Oh, I've done it. I used to do it.
Bro, that's insane. That's insanity.
One of the big reasons, one of the big places that came from, you know, the style that, the light and airy style.
Jose.
Well, so Jose, but like he had that book came out, which I read, which is literally just says he overexposes his film by 2 stops and shoots wide open all day. It's a look. And I honestly like it. And it was difficult for me to get away from that a little bit.
It is.
This lens is one thing that helps though.
Yeah.
The other thing I did is I shot with like the 24 to 70 2.8 for a while. And like, you don't have that option. So it's like, oh, you better get better at your shit.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Canon had this 28 to 70 f2, which is awesome. But it was a bazooka. This thing was so heavy and so big.
I think it was like 800 grams, something like that.
I don't even remember, dude. But I remember massive. I had it and I loved it. I loved the images I got. But like halfway through the day, I'd be like, fuck this. And I would just go back to like some primes. But the Sony version is like a pound lighter. It's smaller.
$3,000.
Yeah, it's still like not a small lens, but I'm hopeful that will serve. So that was like one piece of photography thing. The other thing I saw, there's a photographer I started following on Instagram. I'm going to cheat and pull it up. But he has been doing award shows, and he did the Golden Globes, which was like 2 nights ago?
Yeah.
And the stuff he gets is so good.
He definitely uses Profoto.
He does, but besides that. His I feel like I probably his handle is Strange Victory.
Strange Victory.
Yeah. Strange.victory.
Okay.
Sina Nasseri.
Yeah.
But like, look at some of these pictures. He shoots like this crazy, like wide angle look, like handheld flash. But the stuff he gets is
what's that actor's name again?
Which guy? Let me see. Oh, Nicolas Cage.
Oh, yeah. He probably was like, Nick! And then Nick was like...
But his stuff, like, I don't know. I just dig his work.
It just seems like very authentic.
Yeah, it's... So remember we talked about Greg Williams in that other episode. This is another guy that's like...
Because these aren't the best photos I've ever seen, but it's like... You can tell it tells a story.
Yeah, well, it's more about the
candidness.
Exactly.
Right. Catch.
But yeah, those are 2 cool photography things I've seen recently.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I actually, this is a pretty huge step. So I actually got rid of my M11 and my M7.
Did you finally actually part with them?
I finally sold it. And I went and purchased the Leica Q343.
Did you actually buy it? Did you like pull the trigger on
it? I bought it. Bro, when I say this camera is insane. First of all, the autofocus is so fast. I think probably since you used the Q3 28, the firmware has gotten better. So there's so many better features for this camera.
So I had the up until a few weeks ago, I was using the Leica SL3, which has the same one, and yeah, it's definitely. I think it depends. This is me and Leica. Never mind. It really depends on how you use autofocus. Right. If you're the kind of person that moves your focus point around and either does like continuous focus or single point focus, the autofocus system in those cameras are great.
Right.
I do a lot of tracking during weddings, at least, not for anything else. And the tracking on the Leicas is just not quite up to par yet, which is fine.
It's fine. Like I mainly want to use this camera just for like my bridal portraits and couple portraits.
Does the 1 card slot scare you at all?
It does scare me. However, I'm the type of person that like I tend to shoot the same thing on both cameras anyway.
That's good. Yeah.
Right? So that way, in the event something happens, I should be okay. But, bro, let me tell you the main reason. The main reason why I bought this camera was because the ability to manually focus and autofocus is what really caught me. I love the M11. It is by far, up until the Q343, the best camera I've ever used.
Yeah.
In terms of just the feel, the look, the quality of images that come out of that camera directly.
The Leicas are so great, dude. And
it's crazy.
They're expensive for a reason. They're built really well.
Absolutely.
I know that I will own that camera at some point. I know I'll own another Q3 28. And honestly, I was telling you before, if the Q series had either internal memory or a second card slot, I would sell most of my gear and just rock the 28 version and the 43 version for most of a wedding day.
I was just going to say that.
And this is the dumbest thing too, because I'm always so afraid of the single card slot thing. I've never had a card fail.
No.
But it's still just the thought of
Yeah.
that happening, which scares
Absolutely.
me. And I'm the kind of person that I carry as little shit with me on the wedding as I can. So if I had, like when I was using the Q3, it still scared the crap out of me, but like I would just have that. Like
Yeah.
I wouldn't even have a strap. I would just hold that with me.
Yeah.
And it was great. And I've done that with my M's too before. So
Yeah.
basically,
In an ideal world, I would love to use an M11 with I personally like Voigtlander lenses. With a Voigtlander lens, well, obviously because I can't afford a $20,000 Leica lens like Simon.
not $20,000.
But an M11 and a Q343, bro. That, can you imagine the type of image? If you actually can find a couple that is okay to have patience, it takes a really specific couple to actually be able to shoot.
So you know what's funny
a system
is that like I have gotten to the point because I've been using M cameras for a really long time now.
Yeah.
That I can focus those things wide open pretty quickly.
Okay.
For a while I was rocking the M11 with a 51.4, and that was like my portrait camera.
Nice.
And then I had my Sony with just like a 24-70 as like sort of my like everything else camera.
Yeah.
And that was a great combo. I just, throughout the like a season of weddings, my gear changes throughout just to keep interested because you get like
bored.
You get bored.
Right.
And these cameras, especially the Sonys, they do everything for you now.
Now with this 28, bro, you literally just need that and a 55, and that's it.
Yeah.
You're done.
Right.
You can shoot a whole wedding with just two lenses.
My kit right now is
insane.
Is a small backpack. It's got my main camera, which is the A7R5 with the 28-70. That's going to be like the staple for most of the day.
Nice.
And then I have a second camera that just has like a Samyang 135 1.8 on it. I will just have that as a second body for the ceremony. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure that's like all I'm going to need for now.
Yeah, I'm no longer lugging around that gigantic suitcase that you always see me carry. Bro, it's getting to a point where it's just like you said, I'm trying to, in my old age, be mindful of my back. Yeah. And I think you're using like spider straps now, right? Or are you using hold fast still?
So the hold fast, just like the harness system in general, like it was great for a 2-camera setup. But eventually just like, even that was making my back sore at the end of the day, or just like stiff at the end of the day. So what I do now is, I have a really thin double strap from a company called Clever Supply. Okay. And it takes the Peak Design anchors. So what I do now is I can't, for most of the day, I'm just have the one camera with no strap on it at all, just the 28-70. No strap, and that's pretty much it.
Just the neck strap, or you just
I don't
hold
even have
it in
a
your
neck
hand?
strap. I'm just holding it.
Oh wow, that would scare me.
It's insured, But so I have that, and then during the ceremony, I'll put on the harness. Okay. And have that on the right and on the left, the 135, and really
Have you ever tried the waist straps?
Yeah, I did.
What does it feel like?
It feels so much better. Here's the problem with it.
Okay.
Is that the thing I like about the harness is if you're shooting and you're like, I need my other focal length, like especially at a ceremony. Ceremony is really the only time I'm really jumping back and forth between cameras. You can just sort of drop it and grab the other one. With the spider holsters,
hook it back
you have
in,
to look right.
Hook
so
back
it's
out.
it is good. It's nice to be able to carry 2 cameras on you. Okay. But it's not quick. And I think when I'm using 2 cameras, that situation would be a situation where I need to be fast switching focal lengths.
Makes sense.
Because if not, I would literally do what I used to do. And I had my one camera with no strap and a 35 on it. And then I had a little bag of lenses, with no back caps on them. Yeah. And you just click.
And move.
That is probably the same speed as I could put the camera on the spider holster and get the other one.
Okay.
So my whole thing now is carry as little shit with me as possible.
Bro, that's the move, bro. All 2025.
So anyway, for a ceremony, I'll have the harness on, but that's the only time I'll have 2 cameras. And then as soon as that's done, I put the other one away. Yeah. So, yeah.
So this sort of kind of ties into what we want to talk about today, which is how things in the wedding industry or even in photography can be just subjective. But it seems like there are many people out there that are forcing you to make you think that it's only a certain way.
So this topic was my idea, and I got this idea because Magda and I do occasional workshop shit for Unique Photo down in Philly, which is a great spot.
Yeah.
And I think years of watching photography YouTube and all that kind of stuff has, there's a generation of photographers who only know stuff from like content creators on YouTube, which I'm not knocking it at all.
There's so many different generations now, it seems like,
right. But like
every 5 years, it's a whole different generation.
But I think the thing, I've been doing photography, whether it be professionally or as a hobby, for like, Jesus Christ, 20 years now. I think the thing I've noticed the most that I really hate now is that, YouTube especially, but just anywhere in general, any photographer or anyone in the arts in general, if they're using, it's like, I know you're not a Star Wars fan, but
wait, how do you know that?
I don't know how.
Wow, because I'm black, I don't like Star Wars.
Where did the black thing come in? Jesus Christ. Samuel L. Jackson, bro, he had a purple lightsaber, man. Mace Windu, he's still alive, by the way. But there's a thing in Star Wars where it says only Siths deal in absolutes. Okay. I sort of feel like that about anything in sort of the art world. When anyone is saying anything with absolute certainty, I
just take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, it's sort
but
of
a lot of people don't, because they don't have any direction. They're not sure which path to follow, so they're gonna follow their like most famous or most liked influencer. That's
perfect.
Telling them right.
Here's a good way, like that I look at it, is that I've learned that let's just use the wedding industry as a wedding photography industry. There are photos that I've seen photographers on their Instagram and stuff, and I'm just like, ooh, I don't like that.
Yeah.
But
I think I know where you're going with
this.
But
I'm hesitant to be like, that's a bad photo. Like, I don't personally like it, but it's,
But 10 other people might think like, oh.
Or more than 10. Like these,
or even clients might be like,
that's
wow.
what I'm saying. These photographers have, a ton of work that they are being paid to do. So just because I don't like it doesn't mean there's a lot of people willing to pay money for that
type of photo, right.
And I'm hoping that if they're paying money for it, they like it.
Sure.
So, who am I to say if something is a good photo or a bad photo? I can look at one and say, I wouldn't shoot that, or I wouldn't do it like that.
But to play devil's advocate, we all can recognize when a photo is absolute shit.
Well, and yes, but at the same time, it's sort of like,
right? Like,
yeah, but it also depends, because like it's situational, right? So I could see a photo, I'm like, ooh, that sucks.
Okay.
But what if that's someone who is new to photography and is just trying to figure it out, and doesn't quite know what they're doing yet.
So you're telling me you'll give more leniency to someone that's newer versus a person who's already established in the industry. I don't know if you see shitty work from them.
I don't know if it's leniency as much as it's like, we've all been there, right?
Okay.
So
if I put out a shitty photo, I have no excuse for doing that, because I'm in this.
If I see a photo of yours that I think is shitty, I wouldn't say it's shitty. I'd be like, I don't like that photo. It's that simple. I'll give you another example with the education stuff Magna and I've done. We've done a couple workshops, a few sort of on the technical side, and the one we just did was just about like getting into the wedding industry business wise in general. And there's always been, at every single one, with the exception of like the business oriented one, there's always been like this, like a curmudgeon-y person in curmudgeon-y.
What the fuck
Do you know
is
what a curmudgeon is?
Did you just make that up?
I did not make that up. Curmudgeon. You've never heard the term curmudgeon? No. Have you ever heard? Do you know what a curmudgeon is?
I know what curmudgeon is.
So someone's being curmudgeon-y.
Exactly.
It's a real world.
It's not a real word.
It is. Either way, but like there'll be that person, and I don't want to use the term dude, because I'm sure there are some women who could be this way too. But it's always some old guy. It's always some fucking old guy who either, one, is asking a question, not to ask a question, but to prove they know something, which is always just like, cool, man.
Sure.
But then there's a other person who's like determined to tell you that the photo you're showing is not good.
Right, which kind of plays into how I feel about this, which is I think it's okay to get advice from photographers. It's okay to find influencers that teach you things about photography, or even if you find like a famous YouTuber that you like, you can follow their craft. But kind of like you said, take it with a grain of salt. Right. Don't just take it as what it is, as Bible, and look for other sources of education and other ways to show that what you're learning is,
and
you know what I mean?
Yeah, and the other thing about it is sort of, I feel like the best thing to do in that sense is to find a photographer that you like their work and learn from them, rather than just get on like a broad sense, like a broad, oh, this guy's a photographer, I should listen to what he's like. There's always something to be said about learning the technical side of photography. Like that's something that I think is important to do, and understanding, the exposure triangle, and, when you first learn how to use strobes and lighting ratios and all that kind of stuff. Like, I think the technical thing needs to be a part of it. But as far as, anything past that, I really feel like it is all subjective.
Absolutely.
If someone, so what I was saying before about the workshop, we had a guy, we did a workshop all about using natural light, and different sort of techniques you can use, messing with, shutter speed for some motion blur, like that kind of stuff. And we put up a photo, and it was a shot that I know Magda loves to do. It's, the under the veil thing.
Sure.
And it was, the focus was not on really the couple. It was sort of on the veil that was behind them. It put them sort of like out of focus, a sort of dreamy look.
Sure.
And, the top of the groom's head was cut off. It was just sort of a vibe, And
which is another thing too.
A vibe. But this dude raises his hand, and like, I'm trying to remember specifically what he said, but he basically said like, he's like, I'm trying to think of the words he used, but he basically said like, that photo is wrong, and I would never dream of delivering that to a paying client.
And who's to say that photo is wrong?
Well, do you know what I said to him?
It's all subjective.
No, because I already said that. That is the first thing that goes up on like our slide deck. By the way, yeah. Oh, you're young.
Young. We're the same age.
All right, fine. you are more in touch than I am. You have to call it a slide deck now. If you call it a PowerPoint presentation,
slide deck.
Yeah, people look at you like crazy. Have you not heard this term?
No.
It's a slide deck.
Why can't we call it PowerPoint?
Because it's not PowerPoint anymore.
What is the actual program? Is called PowerPoint.
I don't know, man. I'm just letting you know.
A slide deck?
I've been corrected.
I feel old saying that.
Anyway, but the first one I always put up is
on the slide deck.
On the slide deck. I always preface anything I teach technically or whatever it is aesthetically, everything is subjective. And what I say under it is, I'm about to show you a bunch of stuff, and I'm not saying this is the right way of doing things, and I'm not saying this is the only way to do things. I'm saying this is how I do it, and you can take that or leave it.
Okay, so
hold on. So this guy, he said that to me. He said, I would never deliver this. And I looked at him and said, great. That's awesome. And he like gave me this weird look, like was expecting me to like fight with him. And I sort of said, that you were not me. You don't have to. But then he kept pushing, he kept pushing back though. He kept saying like, how could you deliver something like that? And I think the way I explained it is, well, the way I deliver photos, it's sort of, a storyboard, and it's off of, and like, this is a feeling. This is not
everything is superposed.
And there were so many people tailored, like behind him going like, listening to me, and he's just like, could not.
But that's okay, because that's what works for you and your company. 100%. You're not trying to tell people, hey, this is what you need to do. Instead, this is the kind of vibe you can create on a wedding day. There's different aspects you can put into your photography that make it seem less staged, make it seem less posed. But try a different
vibe. Like I was
vibe.
saying, but he was asking that question, and he could not get past. He's like, why am I paying for this workshop listening to someone who takes a photo like this?
He's stuck in what he was taught, and that's all. Mm-hmm. Which I actually want to show you something. I'm not going to say her name out loud, but this kind of brought me up. Not going to do it.
Wait, hold on.
Okay.
This needs a refill.
It needs a refill. But do you know this photographer? You know this photographer.
I'm not wearing my glasses. That's how old I am. Oh, yeah.
And I'm curious.
I do, very much. Why?
What do you think about her work?
I can't say I've seen a lot of it, to be honest with you.
Really?
I know of this person.
Okay.
Can I peruse?
Yeah. I'm just first of all, I think she charges upwards of like 10 to like 12 grand for like an 8-hour package. And majority of the photos to me just look so over and sometimes a lot underexposed. Now, with me saying this, am I part of that? What we're just talking about, how things are subjective, like the way that I see it. Do you think that clients might see it like, wow, this is like the most beautiful thing I've ever seen? But from a photographer's perspective, we're looking at these photos. I'm like, why is she so dark? Do her skin tones look so orange? Or, you know what I mean?
So, you know what? It's funny because I'm looking at this and there's some photos in here that I'm looking at and I go, I love that.
Sure.
And then there's some photos in here going, that looks like you like forgot to edit this photo. And I'm not saying like some of these, like this one's kind of orange, right?
Right. But it's a vibe.
But I've been trying to edit more to what the room looked like.
Yeah.
One thing I've been doing a lot of is see these lights right here? We're using these at receptions now for formalities instead of flash.
Okay.
And I'm matching them to sort of the ambient color temperature of the room.
Yeah.
But these let you sort of shape it a little bit more, so you can give a little like rim light to the couple. I'm lighting it more sort of like a video or something like that. But I'm matching that. And then when I'm doing in cameras, I'm setting my Kelvin white balance and like looking what it really looks like and then looking at my screen.
Yeah.
And getting that like to look the same.
But that's challenging though, because there are certain situations where you're
absolutely.
Like, the room is so dark.
And it's right. So it's
hard to do it.
I mean, I think that comes with experience, figuring out when that works and when that doesn't. But like, I'm looking at some of these photos and I'm like, that's probably what it really looked like. And for me, what I've been trying to do recently is I think it's become important to me for longevity of wedding photos and specifically. I want a couple to be able to look at their day, especially the reception, because it is usually not natural light, and sort of have the same look as it did on that day.
But don't you agree that, like, at least for me, what I've seen with my clientele is, yeah, you can be creative for them, but
no.
Like
I
exactly.
feel like that
looks...
I would not edit that way, and I don't know if I would even put them in that light, to be honest with you.
Exactly, but those clients loved that photo,
right? Clearly,
and she got hundreds of likes and comments.
This carousel has 406 likes on it,
right? And I'm just like, It's confusing, but anyway.
That's a perfect.
Exactly.
That's a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
Whereas there was stuff in there where I'm like, I probably wouldn't do that. But clearly people like it. And I don't even look at that and go, I don't like this photo. Because I kind of do.
Right.
Because it's different. That's another thing, you know?
Another thing, exactly.
But it's sort of one of those things where I'm like, my eye would not edit that way.
100%.
Just because I'm not used to it. But then again, you know, you get exposed to enough photography like that and you start liking it, be like, okay, how can I sort of like incorporate that a little bit?
Exactly.
Or how can I stay the fuck away from that and never do that? So either way. Time out. I'm going to go get another drink.
Okay, do that. So as you can see, Simon just got a new drink, which I think he's going to need for this hot button topic that we're about to talk about.
So
he's drunk already.
No. I was just saying this. I haven't like ordered a Long Island iced tea at a bar in God, who knows, since college probably.
Yeah.
And the thing I forgot is like when you order a Long Island iced tea, you know, they get the 4 bottles of shit and they're just pouring it in the thing.
How is that legal, by the way?
But like, whose idea was it? This literally says Long Island iced tea with Cutwater vodka, rum, gin, and tequila. Like someone at some point went, okay, we're gonna mix all of them,
right?
But like,
and you won't get alcohol poisoning,
right? But like, we got to figure out what other shit we can put in it so you don't taste that you're mixing, like gin and rum.
Golly,
and it's just anyway. Ask away, friend.
Okay, so I've been recently thinking about this. So I feel like there's a rise in photographers that are strictly using styled shoots as a way to promote their portfolio to clients. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a good and bad like logic to that.
There's a good one to it. Okay.
A little bit. So I kind of want to ask you: do you think, or I guess just this is just be a topic for us to discuss? Are styled shoots like inspiration, or are they false advertising?
Yes.
Okay.
Here's my thing. I think
which one?
I mean,
yes to what?
Both. I think that the problem I have with styled shoots as they pertain to photographers, this is photographer specific, is that, you are shooting in the most ideal situation possible. Most likely there are vendors who have put, a budget that may be unattainable to some couples into this shoot. A lot of the times you're using models. That's a big issue on its own because...
But that's the whole point of a styled shoot, right?
Sure, 100%.
So there shouldn't be anything wrong with that.
If you are posting these to your feed or using them in your website or whatever, and making sure people understand this was a styled shoot, no problem with it whatsoever. The issue I take is when, a photographer starts putting all of these...
Oh, Jeremy and Jessica just got married in Miami.
Yeah, and you know what? And I don't even see that as much, but I do see, people putting it as not really putting a caption or like putting something really vague in there. And I think the biggest issue I have, one, is that some of this stuff is going to be unattainable to couples because of the price point.
95%.
But more so than that, as a photographer, is that when you're working with models, generally, if you just give them some really basic, like, hey, this is sort of the vibe I'm going for, they can do that. Whereas like with people, the 99.9% of couples that we work with have no idea what to do in front of the camera.
It's just such a tough one to think about because I feel as if now photographers aren't using it as inspiration. I truly think they're doing it because they want to have this layout on their Instagram.
I could name you a couple that.
Oh, absolutely.
That it's just like.
But I've seen some photographers where it has worked for them like tremendously.
Yeah.
Where now they're booking clients at these like crazy villas in Italy, in France.
But I would be careful because I think I know who you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I would be careful because there's a difference between a styled shoot and working for free for something that's real.
Absolutely.
Because that's a little bit different.
Yeah.
That is there's the whole thing about never work for free.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily agree with that. But there's a difference between working for free and sort of like whoring yourself out a little bit to get those jobs. Because literally, you're putting yourself at a big risk doing that.
Yeah.
Whereas with styled shoots, you're not. And you're just saying like, oh, I'll make you look like this. Whereas I can't make, there's a very specific person I'm thinking of right now who I've seen work before. And it was very clear to me. It's like, oh, you've been working with models because you have no idea how to get, even there's one person to like make some like any
shift
kind of like
movements or whatever.
It's just that's the biggest thing. If you can't make a couple who doesn't know how to pose in front of the camera, one, comfortable, and two, look the way you want them to look or look the way these models look, then you shouldn't be using that as advertising.
I agree. At the end of the day, I think nothing's wrong with styled shoots, but like you said, definitely don't promote it as something that a client can obtain because at the end of the day, they will most likely not get those.
And they'll figure it out pretty quick.
Yeah. All right. This was a good episode, bro.
Yeah.
Episode 5. Damn. Simon's in deep thought.
I'm deciding whether or not I want to finish this Long Island iced tea because
I
took one sip of it and that shit is strong.
Kids are gonna come up to me like, "Where's my dad?"
Yeah.
I think he's lost somewhere.
I'm probably gonna finish this and then I might like it and have one in
just
the
take
next
a nap.
episode too. Yeah, it'll be great. Yeah. Oh, I can't take a nap today. No, I can't. I know. Either way,
right,
cool,
bro.
man.
Yes, sir. Always the awkward over the table handshake.
I feel like we're further away now that we're like facing each other. Yeah, I know.
All right, guys. Peace.